This world is not my home. I'm just a passing through. My treasures are laid down somewhere beyond the blue. The angels beckon me from heaven's open door, and I can't feel at home in this world anymore. Oh, Lord, you know I have no friend like you. If heaven is not my home, then Lord, what will I do? The angels beckon me from heaven's open door, and I can't feel at home in this world anymore. They're in me, and that's one thing I know. I fixed it up with Jesus so many years ago. I know He'll take me through, though I am weak and poor, and I can't feel at home in this world anymore. Oh, you know I have no friend like you. If heaven is not my home, then Lord, what will I do? The angels beckon me from heaven's open door, and I can't feel at home in this world anymore. Just over and over behind, we live eternally. The saints on every hand are shouting victory. Their songs of sweetest praise drift back from heaven's shore, and I can't feel at home in this world anymore. Oh Lord, you know I have no friend like you. If heaven's not my home, then Lord, what will I do? The angels beckon me from heaven's open door, and I can't feel at home in this world anymore. Thank you, Deborah. Okay. Yes, please. Thank you very much.
I wanted to sing that song because I hadn't sung that song in years. And I wasn't sure about the verses, so that's why I asked you. All right, our last song will be...
Okay.
He's
Our last
able.
song will be number 57. He's able. He's able, He's able, I know He's able. I know my Lord is able to carry me through.
And we want to stand and get ourselves all ready for the service this evening. So we'll stand and sing this song. And I want to hear you singing with all the gusto you have.
He's able, He's able, I know He's able. I know my Lord is able to carry me through. He's able, He's able, I know He's able. I know my Lord is able to carry me through. He healed the brokenhearted and set the captives free. He made the lame to walk again and caused the blind to see.
I know
He's able, He's able. I know He's able. I know my Lord is able to carry me through. Let's do that one more time. He's able, He's able. I know He's able. I know my Lord is able to carry me through. He's able, He's able. I know He's able. I know my Lord is able to carry me through. He healed the brokenhearted and set the captives free. He made the lame to walk again and caused the blind to see. He's able, He's able. I know He's able. I know my Lord is able to carry me through.
Thank you
Amen.
so much for participating.
That was a wonderful song service. All right, at this point in time, we're going to have a quiz. And it's going to be hosted by our brother Zachary. So usually what we do, we use a platform called Kahoot. You can join on your phone on the internet. You put in a game pin, and you're able to answer the questions on your phone. So you go to Kahoot, KAHOT.IT. It should be on the screen shortly. A game pin is going to appear on the screen. You put that in. You get to choose a name, and then you're going to be able to answer the quiz, all right? You're able to see how many points you got. You're able to see the leaderboard. It's a fun experience. So as Zachary comes, all right, so it's loading. Yeah, you can hit start. All right, so the game pin is going to appear. All right.
Good afternoon, church. Okay. Okay. All right. We see 3 people logged in so far. Oh, wow. Okay. Okay, we have a good number of people. All right. Anybody else? Are we still waiting on? Okay, well, we wait for that one last person. One more person got to log in. Oh. Okay, well, we can start now. So let's see how many of these we can answer. The quiz is on marriage in the Bible. So, marriage in the Bible. Who can find a wife of noble character? Her price is dash. Far above rubies, far above diamonds, jasper, or sapphire. Let's see how many people get this right. Okay, it seems everyone got that answer. Far above rubies. Mm-hmm. Okay, all right. Next one. The options are blessing from her family, a blessing from his friends, a favor from near and far, and a favor from the Lord. Favor from the Lord. And that question was, whoever finds a wife finds a good thing. He receives a dash. That's Proverbs 18, verse 22. All right, next question. A good wife is the dash of her husband. Proverbs 12:4. Delight, a tower, pearl, or a crown. Okay, we have answers. We have like 5 people answered delight. I don't think that was right. Next question, please. The better to live in the corner of a rooftop than inside a house with a dash wife. Proverbs 21:9. Heartbroken, furious, vain, or quarreling are your options. I think everyone got that one right. Next question. A wise wife is the dash. Proverbs 19:14, and a gift from the Lord, great inheritance, a bird in golden cage, or like oil on troubled water. I hope she's not like that. Seems everyone got that one right too. Next question. What was Moses' wife's name? Ooh, that's a good one. Zipporah, Sapphira, Micah, or Ada? Okay, seems everyone got that right. Next question. What are the restrictions on marriage of the daughters of... Okay, I didn't get that last one. They must only ever have one husband each. They must marry within their tribe. They must marry before the age of 30. And they must marry whosoever the priest chooses for them. It seems that one person got that wrong, and it was marry within the tribe. And that was in Numbers 26. All right. What was the name of Abraham's wife? Oh, that should be easy. Rachel, Rebecca, Sarah, or Leah? I guess they're all the same family. 2 people got that one wrong. Wow. Okay, let's see. Next question. How was Isaiah's wife chosen? Sorry, thank you. And his father chose a local girl for him to marry. Isaac fell in love, with a friend's sister. His father sent his servant to choose a wife, and Isaac fell in love with a servant girl. And everyone got that one right. Like, when they waiting on me at all. And last question. How does Paul describe marriage in Hebrews? That's Hebrews 13:4. Loving, perfect, a gift, or honorable? That's a tough one. And 2 people got that one wrong. Wow. So let's see who won altogether. In 3rd place is Vans. Nice. 2nd place is Hello. And 1st place is... Okay. Zumara. Ronisha. Well, congratulations, Ronisha. This brings us to the end of our activity. I hope you enjoyed it, minus my blundering. Have a great evening.
Hosea, chapter 1. The word of the Lord that came unto Hosea the son of Beeri in the days of Uzziah, Jotham, Ahaz, and Hezekiah, kings of Judah, and in the days of Jeroboam the son of Joash, king of Israel. The beginning of the word of the Lord by Hosea. And the Lord said to Hosea, Go, take unto thee a wife of whoredoms and children of whoredoms, for the land hath committed great whoredom, departing from the Lord. So he went and took Gomer, the daughter of Diblaim, which conceived and bare him a son. And the Lord said unto him, Call his name Jezreel, for yet a little while, and I will avenge the blood of Jezreel upon the house of Jehu, and will cause to cease the kingdom of the house of Israel. And it shall come to pass at that day that I will break the bow of Israel in the valley of Jezreel. And she conceived again and bare a daughter, and God said unto him, Call her name Loruhamah, for I will no more have mercy upon the house of Israel, but I will utterly take them away. But I will have mercy upon the house of Judah, and will save them by the Lord their God, and will not save them by bow, nor by sword, nor by battle, by horses, nor by horsemen. Now when she had weaned Loruhamah, she conceived and bare a son. Then said God, Call his name Loammi, for ye are not my people, and I will not be your God. Chapter 3. Then said the Lord unto me, Go yet, love a woman beloved of her friend, yet an adulteress, according to the love of the Lord toward the children of Israel, who look to other gods and love flagons of wine. So I brought her to me for 15 pieces of silver, and for an homer of barley, and an half homer of barley. And I said unto her, Thou shalt abide for me many days. Thou shalt not play the harlot, and thou shalt not be for another man. So will I also be for thee. For the children of Israel shall abide many days without a king, and without a prince, and without a sacrifice, and without an image, and without an ephod, and without teraphim. Afterward shall the children of Israel return, and seek the Lord their God, and David their king, and shall fear the Lord and his goodness in the latter days.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this evening's AOA session entitled Can't Make a Wife Out of a Hosea Story. Today, we're going to be talking all about reconciliation. As you would have seen in the short summary video just now, we had a slight reminder of the story of Hosea and his wife Gomer. And it said that she was an adulterous woman, yet he married her. And each time she went out and she did what she did, they still managed to reconcile each and every time. So I guess we can say that reconciliation, not sure if some of us might be so forgiving as he was, but I hope that today we will be able to learn a bit more about reconciliation within marriage. So today we have two couples. We have Matthias and Shirnice, and we have Uncle Vincent and Auntie Harriet here with us today. So we're going to have both of them come forward. Okay, so I just want to thank both of these lovely couples for agreeing to join us here and be a part of this panel discussion. So before we continue any further, I'll just have both couples introduce themselves. We're going to start with Shirnice and Matthias.
Okay. They say ladies first, but. So my name is Matthias, and this is my lovely wife, Shirnice. And we've been married now. November the 11th will make 6 years that we will be married.
My name is Vincent. This is my lovely wife, Harriet. We've been married now for 44 years. December 20th will be 45. Life is spirit.
Okay, so we have some well-seasoned married couples here sitting with us today. So my first question is going to be, how did you guys meet each other? What was the beginning of your story?
Harriet seems like she wants to go first.
I'm actually surprised that she asked the question because I was thinking about the questions that were given. Anyhow, ours date back to Master Guide course in the 70s. Although we are both from St. Joseph, I didn't know Vincent, but we were both on the National Master Guide course. I think the second one, you remember what year it was? 1972. And I remember losing my dairy. And apparently he found it. So I said, I hope you didn't read my diary. And he didn't tell me if he read it or not, but he said he will give it back to me. I think the night we were going to have a progressive hike. The older ones know what progressive hike is, where you as you move along, a whistle is blowing and you have to move and talk to somebody else. You don't stay with one person all the time. So we had a progressive hike. And then when we got together on the hike, we started talking what's not. And it just moved from there. We became friends, and then, and as you can see, ended in marriage. But because of that Master Guide course that we were on, and you got to meet young people, I got to meet him.
Okay. How I met Matthias. Okay, so I had decided that I was going to, make myself as busy in God's work as possible. And in doing so, I joined a group called God's Crew. And I met Matthias. He insulted me. and that's how it started. I was thinking at first, I definitely want to be this guy's friend. But then he insulted me. But I took it as an insult. Right? But it went from there, and that's how we met.
I just want to clear up something. I did not insult her, okay? She took it the wrong way, right? There was this song that we were singing, and in the song, it references a text, Titus 2:14, exactly. She said she can't sing numbers. So I just teased her a little bit, and she took it the wrong way, and she left. And she didn't tell me bye. So she was vexed. But I did not insult her, okay?
So I guess we can see that you all managed to reconcile with each other, and here we are now. Alrighty, so we're going to jump in now with our main program questions. Now, how would you all define reconciliation in the context of marriage? And why is it something that is important?
All right, I think I'll start. For me, restoration in the context of marriage means that your relationship, reconciliation. Oh, sorry. Reconciliation, right, is when your relationship is restored to how it was before. So when things happen that break you apart, things change. The nature of your relationship would change. So reconciliation is a coming back together and restoring what was broken. That's it in a nutshell for me.
I think you gave a good definition. To me, is restoring the friendship between a husband and wife that was broken because of, it could be many reasons, because of some reason, and the friendship was broken, the relationship was broken, so it's a restoring of this relationship.
Okay, and why is that something that is important?
In addition to the definition that's been given, there's another definition which speaks about the action of like harmonizing different views. Because you could find you in a situation where the two partners may have different views on a particular matter. Neither is right, neither is wrong. But it causes some fracture, nevertheless. And you have to do something to harmonize the two situations. And in that harmonization requires understanding and making some adjustments. Actually, I know Sister Bess would identify with this. When I first got involved in accounts back in 1973, one of the first tasks I had to perform was a bank reconciliation. And you do a bank reconciliation every month, probably. Wherein the bank is saying your balance is $1,000, but your cash book, your checkbook is saying it is $2,000 or whatever. Neither is right, neither is wrong. What you have to do now is see, why are they different? It might be a situation where you have not deposited, you might have deposited, make a deposit to the bank, but the bank didn't pick it up. So you will have to add that back to the bank balance to come back to what is in your book. Or it might be situations where you might have written some checks and they haven't reached the bankers yet if the bank balance is lower. And then you will have to subtract that from your balance if you want to agree with the bank balance or harmonize it. So in this situation, neither is right, neither is wrong, yeah? But they are different. And in marriage, you find situations like that also. Neither is wrong, both are right, but they're two different positions. And you have to try to come to an understanding to simply harmonize the situation. If you don't harmonize it, they remain right, but going down two different paths cause a fracture to exist.
I think that was a great analogy. Sometimes we often think about, even in terms of friends, sometimes you may have different opinions on something, and then you're like, I don't want to hear you out because you're wrong. But here we can clearly see that if we value what we have, we would try to find that reconciliation. All right, our second question. Can either of you share a personal experience where you and your spouse had to overcome a significant challenge or conflict in your relationship? How did you work towards reconciliation?
All right, I would like to answer the question by beginning with something else. In every marriage, there'll be differences. There are two different individuals together, so obviously things are not always going to go the way you think. Most of us enter marriage with the impression that everything is going to go well. You've married the person that you are in love with and you're going to live happily ever after. But this is not necessarily true because we are individuals and we will have differences, and God made us different for a reason. Now, in our relationship, our marriage started out just like most marriages. You're very much in love and everything is going well for at least the first 2 years, especially before you have children, because children change the dynamics of any marriage. So everything was going well. And then there was a point when we realized that we were drifting apart for reasons, for example, probably work reasons, church reasons. Vincent was first elder for most of his life, very, very involved in church. In fact, I think he knows this too. he used to put church first before his family. So that he has learned over the years, but in those early years, it was always church work first. And I think I've said this before, everybody would see the first elder doing everything for the church, but not knowing that the first elder's family is suffering. You're in a young marriage, 2 children, husband, all involved. I was involved in church work too, but he was more involved than I was, out most of the time. Then his work also took him overseas traveling a lot. So we found that we started to drift apart because, of course, as the problems come up, then people become angry and what's not. And if you don't get these problems resolved, then your marriage could end in divorce. So we realized that we were growing apart, we were growing in different ways, and we realized that we would have to do something about it if our marriage was not going to end in divorce. What we did, we got somebody to come in and talk to us, share the problem with this person. Well, this person acted as a counselor, we discussed it, and then we realized that we would have to do something about it if we wanted to stay together. And we were able to resolve our differences over the years, and here we are 44 years later, still together.
Amen.
I allowed Harriet to speak on that because women have all the details and keep a memory and an account of what has happened. To this, right now, truthfully, I don't remember who we spoke to. I really don't. Yeah, I really don't. Because, well, men or me, I don't keep record of things, particularly if it's negative, I blank it out and move on. Whereas sometimes females may be different, to hold on to it and remember it and might bring it back from time to time. And I think that is also part of the reconciliation process, where you really don't hold on to the negative, don't hold on to the bad experiences. A situation arises, you deal with it and move on. And with that, it certainly helps. When he said wrong to Harriet's comment that he put church work first, it wasn't that she was wrong, it was that I was wrong in doing that. Yeah, because really, and this is for young elders, if there are any here, your family really need before the church work. All right? Now, it doesn't mean that you don't love God. It doesn't mean you don't like the church. But as you think about it, the church might have 6 elders and a pastor. Your family has 1 husband and 1 father. Your children need to be nurtured so that if there's a conflict between the church and the family, you have to make a judgment, and you should really allow the family to take priority in a situation such as that. The church work will continue. Yeah, the church work will continue. Now, others will do it. But I didn't say it then. I got married at age 24, and it was gun-ho me. And in those days, George, you remember, we felt Christ was going to come very, very soon. 1980 was far in the distance. And then 1990 came, and we said, well, definitely 2000, this is it. And we were assiduous. I remember a statement that Monica made to me years ago. And I told her, I believe Christ was going to come. Well, because we had the 2000 years series of 2000. I said, for probably around year 2000. And she said, no, I don't think it would. I give another 6 to 7 years. So I would have landed in 2006 or 2007. But really, we were fervent, and we felt Christ was coming, and the church work and God's work had to be finished. And the family suffered for that. And but I would advise the young elders, and anybody involved really in church, really do not allow the church work to split your family and cause fractures. Family comes first in that context. Not that they're above God, but church, in church, family should take priority. And they don't have to be a conflict, because you can manage the situation. Like if you're the elder with managing meetings and what's not, you know, that they could run coterminously and without problem. But if there's a conflict, let the families come forward.
Thank you for that.
Now we'll have Shirley. All right. So I am going to be a little transparent because I have the permission from my husband to do so. Okay, so in a lot of marriages, and I heard Auntie Harriet mention it just now, that the first year and the second year, you know, they're the best years and you're all lovey-dovey in the honeymoon stage, and it just seems like nothing will go wrong and it's all great. And they lived happily ever after. That was not our case. Our first year of marriage was the hardest year so far, and I think that Matthias would agree with me wholeheartedly. Wholeheartedly. At that point in time, the problem was me, and a lot of women, and a lot of women would not necessarily admit to that, but I had to look myself in the mirror and realize that it was me, right? I had a lot of buried issues. To give a short little backstory, I'd never really known my father. He left at a young age, and just before I got married, a few years before I got married, I found him. And what I found made me very angry, right? And I apparently held this anger and this hostility in me, and I did not even know, I didn't recognize it, I didn't know it was there. We got into marriage and we got into some argument or the other, and I said, I felt the anger coming. I felt the anger coming, and I started to walk away. And I said, you know, again, we can't talk right now. You just need to leave me alone. But Matthias does not want that. He wants to resolve it now. And he comes after me, and I walk away from him. And he comes after me, and I'm like, you better not. But he still does. And let's just say it was a big blowout. And the Christian girl that you see before me, and I have to say this because people will go through the same thing and think, woe is me, or, oh, this couple seems so happy. They don't seem like they go through anything like that. So I will tell you, I cuss Matthias out. The little Christian girl that don't curse at all, I don't even know where it came from. And I believe that the devil was just using me at that point in time. But I cuss Matthias out with all the curse words that I never used, that I ever heard in the neighborhood that I grew up in. Right? And I realized from that argument, that was the biggest argument we've ever had. And I realized from that I have a problem and I need help. But I did not necessarily go to a counselor, and I would advise anybody who's dealing with that to get counseling. But I went into a period of prayer and fasting and asking God to change the behavior in me. Because I realized afterwards, Matthias is so calm, and everybody knows that. He is the most gentle person ever. And I was like, rah, 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 rah. So I felt stupid after the quarrel, because it was just like, that was not necessary. That was so not necessary. And it took me a while. And because of that, it broke something, I believe, in Matthias. And it caused him to put up a wall, you know? And it was hard for me when I actually got past that. And let me tell you, it was quite a while before I got to the place where I could actually discuss something with him when I was angry and just be like, okay, let's sit like mature adults and have a conversation about this. It does not need to be a blowout. And that was through a lot of prayer and fast and a lot of asking God every single day, every single night, all through the day, help me. Help me, Jesus. But yeah, we went through that, and it took a while for him, but we are going to address that a little later, but it took a while for him to not be so cautious with me and to come to me with whatever he needed to say without thinking that I would blow up. Yeah?
I think a big area too that we would have disagreements would be the budget. Yeah, see? So, obviously I like to plan things out. We need to stick to the budget. And a big item on everybody's budget is food, right? I can tell you in the first year of our marriage, we spent a lot of money on food that I didn't necessarily want to spend. And I remember we had this argument. It was at Sheraton. And we had food home, but Shirley still wanted to eat out. And I was like, babe, but we got food out. And, you know, she turned around and said, but I don't want to eat the food at home. I was like, what happened? Right? And here's how we reconcile. I had to understand things from her perspective. Shirley's wanted to see the cupboard full, the fridge full. That, you know, she had some trauma from her childhood, and, you know, every time I went to pick up a hand of grapes, she would say, you eating too much, we're going to be poor, blah, blah, blah. But it took some time for me to understand that, you know, she wanted to hold on to she wanted to feel like there was food. We were not poor by any means, but I had to understand her mentality. So we had to sit down, and she had to reveal that to me. So sometimes it's just, instead of getting angry at the person, sitting down and say, yeah, where is this coming from? And that person may not even know where it's coming from until they sit down with you and explore their memories, right? So I think that's one thing that really helps to reconcile.
I think that we would have gained a lot of great points from within both couples' stories. I think accountability is one thing that we learned. Sometimes we often think that, like I said earlier, we're right, nothing is wrong with us. But sometimes you have to tell yourself, man, you're the problem. Even though it's hard, at the end of the day, you gotta sit down with yourself and be honest. If you want the situation to work, you have to know about, I'm the problem. And you have to be able to address these things. Even if you don't do it immediately, you want to sit down and gather your thoughts and then attack the problem. You still have to, you know, talk about these things even though you may not want to. And I think that's important for a lot of the young people in the audience as well to know. A lot of persons like to say, well, I used to capture real good, you know, everything, excellent, everything. But then when you get in the relationship now, and you realize you're not as perfect at everything as you thought you were, as grown and mature as you thought you were, those type of things. So you have to address those things sometimes. Moving on. In the story of Hosea and his wife, there's a theme of forgiveness and restoration. How do you practice forgiveness in your marriage, especially during difficult times? How do you practice forgiveness in your marriage, especially during difficult times?
Well, I haven't had to forgive her yet recently. But no, there will always be differences and situations where you have to forgive, because it might not be that the person has failed in any way. She's never failed morally or anything like that. But even just in the behavioral traits, I don't know when this will come up, but one of Harriet's weapons when dealing with me in times past was silent treatment, you know, which is bad. It's not good. It's not good, you know. But I overcame that, and I forgave her for that. You know, I said, well, that was her modus operandi. She had a reason to do it. So I'm wrong. I'm the guilty party. So I'll forgive and move on. I won't hold that against her. And I think the thing with forgiveness is also, you don't have to wait for the person to ask for forgiveness. If you know there's need for forgiveness, forgive. And as far as possible, try to forget. And that is not difficult for me, because I forget most things now. Even what I should remember. But advice to ladies, when you forgive, forget. No, don't try, forget. Well, you remember the situation, but don't bring it up, don't use it as a weapon, don't use it then as a situation, because he did that last time, he will do it again or whatever. If you really forgive, you forget.
I think that I am a forgiving person, right, Vincent? And it's a blessing to be able to forgive. And it's hard, but it's also a blessing. And the only way we can do this is by constantly reminding ourselves of God's forgiveness toward us. And if we want God to forgive us, we have to forgive others. So every time somebody does me something, whether it's Vincent or whoever, I remember that I am always doing something that hurts Christ. And he forgives me constantly. So because of this, I am able to forgive other people, including Vincent.
Where it comes to forgiveness, Matthias, I think he will agree with me. I forgive very fast and very easily. I don't hold on to anything. And I think that that's something that is just in my nature. So for people that actually struggle to forgive, I can't give any advice. I just let it go. However, I didn't have much to forgive Matthias for, so I can let him talk about this.
Coming under the assumption that I have a lot to forgive you for. Maybe. The Bible says God's mercies are new every morning. And that's how I try to live my life. If something was done previous day, when I wake up, clean slate, right? And that's how you have to look at things. We try as much as possible not to let things fester and spill over into the next day as well. So there have been times when we had not fully resolved the situation, but we got to a point where I asked for forgiveness, she asked for forgiveness. There was still a little tension, but we decided, you know what? We are at a good place. Let's tackle this some more tomorrow, right? And so if you apply that principle, every time you wake up, clean slate, erase, delete. I think it will be a little more easier to look at that person and still see the person that you married, because a lot of marriages are tainted because people keep grudges, all right? Right, and because you don't address issues.
So let me add a little bit to what Matthias said, because I don't want you to go away and think that you just wake up and you clean slate, you forget everything, you don't even bother about it. You have to address those issues. You have to sit and talk about it, and you have to come to some agreement as to how you will move forward, right? And that can be a hard conversation to have, because it calls for introspection. And if you're not willing to look at you and not look at the other person, and to not point fingers in that conversation, then it's going to be hard to resolve the issue.
Okay. So as I see, is also a theme in both answers. Communication appears to often be the key to reconciliation. Matthias and Shirley, you would have mentioned not letting issues fester, but what other strategies or techniques do you use to communicate effectively with your spouse when resolving conflicts?
Okay, so we would have learned this strategy years ago. There was a marriage retreat from a husband and wife. They are the marriage menders. And they would have taught us to use different words. So for example, right, fighting fear. So instead of saying, you just always do this, change that to say, when you do this, I feel X, Y, Z, right? Just approaching it from that point of view, it changes the reaction of the other person and creates a different atmosphere, right? So that you can really communicate the real issue rather than just throwing accusations left, right, and center. So I think that we try to implement that, you know, not saying those kind of things, but really talking about feelings. And, you know, men don't like to talk about feelings. And sometimes still it's hard for me sometimes to say, well, I feel hurt or whatever, you know, icky, yucky stuff. But it's something that I'm working on, and it's something that's necessary because she will not know how I feel unless I tell her how I feel, right? And so even now, and I'm, you know, there are a lot of young people that are here, even though this is a little issue in our marriage, sometimes Shanice has to try to get it out of me. She's like, I see you are upset. Tell me what is wrong with you. I need to know, right? And I'm thinking, well, I'll just keep it to myself. You know, no harm, no foul. But it's actually hurting her because she can see. And she feels that I'm holding information from her. And then now that kinds to muddy the waters too, because now she's going to come at me thinking that I'm intentionally holding information from her. And that's an easy way to start an argument. Whereas I can just tell her how I feel and clear the air one time. All right? So I think that's some strategies that we use. Our communication is still not perfect. There are times where we still misunderstand each other. And I think, though, that it's because sometimes we don't take the time to just come down and just listen to the person. And I find that when we do that, then we realize, oh, well, we were saying the same thing all along, right? So that's another thing, too. When you're in heated situations, you will find that it's very easy to misunderstand somebody. But if you were to calm everything down, step away, you will find that you guys probably are saying the same thing, right? So never try to resolve something unless you're willing to step back, be calm, and really hear the person and hear what they have to say.
Okay, so for this particular communication issue, I felt like if it was such a massive thing in our marriage, and I think that communication has its place. Without communication, there can be no marriage. There can be no relationship. That extends to any relationship that you could think of. So I told Matthias that I felt like it was so necessary because I felt like we were struggling so much with it. I felt like we needed to have some kind of counseling with regard to this communication. And so we went back to the pastor who married us, and he sat and he listened to me. He listened to Matthias. And when he was done, he was just like, but you guys are actually saying the same thing. You don't want to hurt him and you want what's best for him, and he vice versa. And because you're trying to tender to his needs and he's trying to tender to yours, somehow there's something that y'all are missing, but you actually are saying the same thing. You agree. So when he revealed that to us, and he was just like, this is what you said. I'm going to read it back. And this is what you said. We agreed. But somehow there was some, I don't know, barrier between our communication, and we were not able to see that all we wanted was the best for each other in this situation, and we were technically saying the same thing.
Matthias, you said that your communication is not perfect. I'm going to tell you that it will never be perfect. We've been married 44 years, And we still have problems sometimes with communication. But that technique that you talk about, using messages rather than you, is really effective. Rather than telling the person, you do this, you always doing this. I feel a certain way when you speak to me like that. And another thing is, I try to avoid using the words always and never. As women, we like to say, you never take out the garbage, you never help me, you never do this. That is not true. It might be most of the time, but a person, you can't say you never or you always. So avoid using the words always and never. Now, as Vincent said, I had a problem. My approach, when I was annoyed or angry, was using the silent treatment. Sometimes I would talk to him for probably a day or two, which was really, really bad. But sometimes we have these learned behaviors and we don't even know where we get them from. And I was thinking back, I said, you know something, in my home, I really never saw my mother and father talking very much, you know. You probably see some person with their mouth pushed up or something. But I never really heard them talking about things. And I believe that was something that I learned. So I would give him the silent treatment. And then, well, you come out of it and things go back to normal, but then something happens and back into the silent treatment again. So I would advise anybody who does this to get rid of it. It's a bad habit. I know that it really hurt our marriage. So now do I ever do it? All right, so I avoid that because I know I've learned my lesson. Also, you be careful with the tone of voice. I find sometimes, especially people who have been in management or even teachers, we're accustomed talking to our children and giving them orders. And sometimes in the home, right, Daniel, you tell sometimes you talk to people as though they're children. Vincent said like to give orders. He might not he realized it because he was in management. Sometimes he talked to you as though he's ordering you to do something. So, right. So we have to be careful with the tone of voice we use. And another thing, like Shirnice, you said that you walked away that night. And sometimes the best thing to do is not respond when you're angry because you say the wrong thing. But rather than remaining silent, probably tell the person, well, I need a little time. Give me a little time out. So that you could breathe. Like in teaching, sometimes I used to count to 100 before I respond to children. Sometimes so that you could think it out and then you talk to the person. But when you respond when you're angry, you really say the wrong things.
Just a couple of things to add. Timing is important when you deal with the issue. Never do it when you're angry. I mean, choose it. Never do it in front of children. Or children would cannot say they ever heard us quarreling or having arguments because I will wait until 2 o'clock when they're sleeping and tell Harriet what you had to tell her. And then she might want to sleep, but I would tell her then, and not in a loud voice. Because again, I felt it should be private. The children should not get involved. And our children felt we had a perfect marriage. You know, so people getting divorced. I remember Adrian said, "Not you all." You know, I was testing what I said, but mommy and daddy getting I'm divorcing your mom. He said, "No, not you all. You all live too good." You know. So timing is the issue, the appropriateness. Matthias related and Harriet reaffirmed the notion that rather than saying you always and rather go to when you do such and such make me feel this way. Now it takes two to deal with that because if the other person says that doesn't matter for you, you know, you feel that way, that's your problem. You know, I ain't cause it. I mean, when you hear that type of statement, then it can really ferment. So when the person indicates you make me feel this way, then you have to take it seriously. Because you cannot tell a person how he or she is feeling. This is how he or she feels. That is it. That is the reality of it. And so you have to address it rather than ignore it and say, well, yeah, I had a right feeling where I didn't intend it that way and move on. And also, the thing about it is, we are Christians, so we should pray. You know? Pray about issues before you speak. They said, don't let the sun go down your wrath, on your wrath. You know? Someone said that is true. Stay up all night and fight out. fight to the end. You know, don't let it go. No, there's no need to fight. There's no need to fight. You could pray about it, and the Holy Spirit guides you. He does. How, when, and where. And by so doing, you find that a lot of issues which would start in a teapot, if you don't address it when we're into mountains, they'll die in that teapot. When you use the Holy Spirit and God to guide you in your communication. Harriet says that I might sound a little bossy sometimes. That's not true. I'm just a firm. And I don't like to vacillate on issues. If there's something we've made a decision, let's move on it. That is my personality. Hers, we want to lay back and think about it and whatever. Most of my life, I move bam, bam, bam. Sometimes I realize it was too fast. You know? At a couple of situations, but most of the time it works out. But you never get it right, you know, and then you have to. But if you move too quickly and you make an error, come back and correct it. You know, say I'm wrong and take another decision to correct that situation. I would like to encourage young people also. When they come to major decisions and communicate on them, discuss them rather than taking it on your own. Something you would think, well, look, I'm the business person here. I got the ideas, I got the knowledge, and want to move. No, take the view of the other person. This not, they were saying in Barbados, parlance, every fool got his sense or whatever. Everybody has something to contribute to a situation and to a decision-making process. You know, a different perspective, and it helps. It helps. We don't know all. You don't know all. Your wife doesn't know all. Your husband doesn't know all. But together, you all can make a much better decision, particularly when you allow Jesus to be in the center through prayer.
Those were some.
And the thing about it, I talking about this now, this is what I learned. I wasn't like this all the time, But over time, you realize, that is what it is to be. And if I had gone that way from the beginning, it would be a much better marriage,
Okay, I think that those were some good strategies that we should all apply, not only in marriages, but that we should apply in a lot of our day-to-day friendships and other relationships that we have. If you ask anyone what some of the fundamental elements of any relationship are, most persons are likely to mention trust. How do you rebuild and maintain trust in your marriage after it has been broken? How do you rebuild or maintain trust in your marriage after it has been broken?
Well, trust is something that has to be developed. Trust has to be earned. Told them breaking the service. Or you breaking the window. Actually, the sun is coming through that other one. Can you just shift a bit and speak from here? You can sit here. Or you close your door. You see, a different approach. I wanted the air to continue to flow. Okay. Still coming through your glass. A little better. Not a word. Yeah. What are we saying now? Trust. Oh, trust is something that you have to earn. You have to build it. And if trust has been betrayed, then it takes time to build it back. And it comes through transparency, sticking to your word, and being as honest as possibly can. And by so doing, the other person sees that look, he or she is making an effort, and will give that person credit for it, and it comes over time. It doesn't happen overnight, right? A relationship doesn't break down, bam, in one fell swoop, and the trust is not rebuilt in one fell swoop either. But sometimes people, it's taken a long time for the relationship to break down, but they want everything to be corrected in a day or whatever. No, it's going to take a while. It's going to take a while. And while you're taking a while, you have to give the other person a chance. You have to give the other person a chance. You can't say, well, I can trust you, by trusting you from a distance. No. You have to give the person to operate in the normal environment and believe that the other person would come through. Because the thing about it is, today the problem might be on his side or yours or her side. The next time it will flip, And if it were on the other reverse side, you would want to be given a chance. So you have to give the other person a chance. And again, trusting, and also do not make unreasonable requests of the other person. Some people said, no, I can trust you if you do so and so and so or whatever. Now, not that this happened in my case or whatever, but I know many situations with men who have had relationships with other women, and they've broken off, and relationship restored. But the wives always saying, you still saying that worthless woman? You still saying the dirty woman? And when you do those pejorative and nasty comments, it doesn't do anything to build trust. And the other person, or might not say anything, but holds it in their mind, and it causes a wall to be created. So you really have to move with your clean slate. I like your clean slate, tabula rasa, and move fresh and give the relationship a chance to rebuild.
I think you've said most of it, but I would just like to reiterate that openness and honesty are very important once trust has been broken. And sometimes when we think about broken trust, I find right away we think to infidelity, adultery, and things like this. But trust can be broken in the area of finance and marriage. A person who you might have a joint account and you realize that the person cleaned out the account or something. So your trust could be broken in marriage in many ways. It might be verbal abuse. It could be emotional. It could be different ways in which trust is broken. So once it's broken, it is going to take time to build it again. Whereas you might forgive the person right away, that doesn't mean that you're going to start trusting them right away. So for example, suppose it was infidelity. You have to make sure that you're open with your spouse. When you're going somewhere, tell them where you're going. Sometimes there's a male thing. Men like to leave home and just go out. They feel like if they tell their wife where they're going, that they're little boys. Am I wrong? A lot of men feel this way. I'm a little boy if I have to tell my wife where we're going. But if the trust has been lost, then when you're leaving home, you're accountable. You tell your wife where you're going. Then this thing, devices, you find out when people are hiding things, they tend to have passwords on their phone and their laptop and all these things, and either the husband or wife, you don't want them to get into your device. If this is something that you were doing in the past, know that you're open. And this is something you can talk about personally. Once upon a time, I could not get into Vincent's phone or his laptop or whatever. You might say that you shouldn't be able to. But I believe in a relationship where everything is open and trustful, that you should be able to. I can leave my phone all around the house. I don't care if Vincent goes into my phone, my laptop, or whatever. He can see it. So if you are hiding yours from me, it suggests to me that you have something to hide. That's dope. So therefore, if the trust has been broken, you are open, you are transparent. So these are things you will do. And another thing, if something is going to happen, for example, suppose, let me just, a situation, you're at work and you have to take this lady to lunch. Tell your wife, or it could be other way around too. Then Danny comes and tell me, you know that I saw Vincent at the Hilton with Shanice today. And I could say, but Vincent told me that he was going to take Shanice to the Hilton. But if he didn't tell me, that is a problem. So openness and honesty and transparency is very, very important if you're going to build trust. In fact, you can start that way so that you don't have these trust problems. So when it is broken, you really have to work on restoring it.
So If I'm going to tell you that I'm going to take Shanice to lunch and you can quarrel, why tell you? You have to be able to accept it.
Another one, in the case of infidelity, you break off the relationship with the person completely. You know, sometimes people break they stop, but they say, oh, I still want that person to be my friend. That person cannot be your friend anymore. So you break the relationship completely so that your partner can have trust in you again.
Actually, the lady said, if you want a friend, get a dog. If you want a friend, get a dog. You know, if it said dog, a dog's a man's best friend. You know, so they say.
I have a question from the audience.
Yeah, she's saying break off the relationship completely, but it don't always work. So suppose the lady got a child for you, and you gotta support that child or see it or whatever. So we gotta be realistic. They ain't breaking off, darling.
All right, but
Not that one.
probably in that case, I can see that it would not be completely, but there would be openness and then there are still restrictions. You can't be at the person's house every day and every night. So
Right, just to reiterate the point that it doesn't have to, because when you think about trust being broken, you think about infidelity. But I would have broken Matthias's trust in the scenario that I gave earlier. It made him feel like he could not come to me and talk to me about anything. And now he's now going to hold everything in. So as I worked on myself, and as God worked on me, I had to tell him, you know, it's okay, you can tell me what it is. And it took him so long, and I feel like sometimes he still wants to revert back into not telling me certain things, or he will come to me and be like, babe, I got something to tell you, but don't be angry. Like, okay, Matthias. And I prepare myself for whatever he's going to say, but he comes to me when he thinks that it's going to be something that's bad, and it's not that. No, he comes to me, I have that same reaction. It's just like, I am reasonably mad. No. Right? I show it on my face, I'm like, okay. And let's talk about it now. But he doesn't even want to see that. So even in that, that would cause him to, refrain from wanting to tell me certain things. And he always warns me first. But no, wouldn't you say that's no handling, us managing the situation? So we have our own way around communication with regard to those things now.
I think I had to have a little bit of rehabilitation as well, because we often like to project our own behaviors onto other people, and because I don't do that when she comes to me, I felt like she should give me the same exact treatment when I go to her. But right, she's not me, right? So I had to come to the realization that, it's not necessarily that she may be, being spiteful or whatever. She's a different person. She's not gonna handle it like you. And so sometimes we go into relationships and marriage and say, I do this for you, so you should do this. But that's not always the case. You have to look at it from a different perspective.
Okay, and we would have touched just now on the idea of infidelity. The story of Hosea, he demonstrated unconditional love towards his wife, despite her unfaithfulness. How do you cultivate and express unconditional love towards your spouse, especially in challenging situations? How do you cultivate and express unconditional love towards your spouse, especially in challenging situations?
Well, it was interesting that you chose the story of Hosea as the platform for this discussion. But really, they ain't got many Hoseas around. I don't know if there's any in Barbados. Men in Barbados don't take infidelity well. Using Barbadian parlance, men could horn, but they can't take a horn. They don't. So Homer wouldn't have had a chance. Gomer? She's Gomer. You see, she would not be at home. Gomer probably is a good word. She go your way. Yeah. That wouldn't have happened in the Barbadian society at all, to my mind. Yeah. And then because you look down upon it and your friend, you say, wait, man, wait. What sort of idiot you is? You mean she did it to you once and you forgive her? Okay. And you might go ahead. And said she do it to you twice, you forgive her. How many times she ordered to do it before you bring it to a realization, all right? But as Harriet said, it was really a story there to show God's unconditional love to us, not how we deal with things. It's really about God rather than about Hosea. And it also shows us, in Barbadian society, that, it's Gomer, you said? Gomer, God did not hold it against Gomer. You realize that? Anyway, to say that God chastised her, God whipped her, and God do anything to her or regard her as worthless, bad, and indifferent? No, he didn't. But again, in a Barbadian situation, if a lady has a child outside of marriage, we say, well, she bad, she worthless, she ain't no good, she can't be whatever, can't be trusted. And if it happens a second time or third time, it is, forget it. But it shows, although it's not a desirable thing or a nice thing to do, God sees it differently. And we as man should try to see it differently as well. So that, a man might be, might commit some infidelity and ask for forgiveness. Wife does the same thing. She don't even think we're asking for forgiveness. Forget it. But you should be prepared to. You really should be. If you've been in a relationship, an error has been made, a mistake has been made. Yeah. And God will want us to reach that situation. So the story of Gomer, really, and Hosea, is really dealing with God's unconditional love for us, and it's teaching us that we should have unconditional love for all people. It's not only husband and wife, for people in the church and wherever. But this unconditional love cannot come of our own strength. This is a special unconditional love. Unconditional love only comes through God. So you have to pray, you have to fast, and you have to ask for forgiveness, all and continue on that spiritual tone. Because it is really impossible from a human standpoint.
For me, I tend to be a pretty forgiving person, and I always try to tell Shirley's how much I love her. There are times when she might not feel beautiful, and I might tell her, oh, baby, you're so beautiful, and she might look at me staying, because she thinks that this is the worst time that you could come and tell me that I'm beautiful. What are you seeing, right? But I always try to tell her, you look beautiful, I love you, at different moments in time throughout the day. I also don't hold things against her. If she does something, and I realize that she knows she messed up, I would, give her a nice gesture, hug her. I can give you a story, actually. So before the vehicle we had a 2019 Swift, right? Brand new off the lot. One of the biggest mistakes we ever made in our entire lives. That car is like foil paper. Anyway, on my birthday, we were going out, but she had to deliver something to one of her clients first. All right, so I'm in the passenger seat, she's driving, I have the map up, and I'm telling her, I hadn't spoken to her for a while, and she was getting upset. She was like, "You following the map properly?" I was like, "Well, yes, but I can tell you when, you need to turn or whatever." She took the phone, trying to see the map and whatever. And then we got into an accident. All right. Well, the car, a truck hit us then, if you could say that. And the car was written off. And I could not believe what had just happened. Shanice can tell you, I did not behave in any kind of way. I got out. I looked at her. "You okay? You all right?" Looked at myself. We are fine. No scratches, no nothing. And I told her it's going to be okay. Now, I guess that's an abnormal response, but that's just me, all right? And I try to not overreact in situations that are hard, because that's a hard situation. Yeah. And any red-blooded person would react understandably differently to that. They will be angry, because now we don't have a vehicle, right? But in those times when, some difficult things happen, I'm calm, and I don't react to the situation. I try to accommodate her and how she feels, and because I have that trust in God, I just try to look at it as we'll be okay. We'll get another car. And I can tell you that car being written off was the best thing that happened to us too. We were overpaying for that car. We got out of the lease as a result of the car being written off. And now we have another car, right, that we've had for 2 years now. That's what God had for us. That Swift, we went against God's wishes and bought that car. So I don't react to the situation. Be calm as much as possible and see the other person.
I like I should have married somebody like you.
But I wanted to add to what Matthias said. So going back to the story where I got into the accident, it was...
The truck hit you, right?
I hit the truck. My first accident in all of the years that I was driving. But I was not paying attention as I should, and 2 cars in front of us dead stop, and of course the car in front of us dead stop. But we were going very slowly, so I hit the truck like a book. But like Matthias said, those cars are not plastic wrap, not foil paper, but plastic wrap. It worse than foil, right? Foil could hold it on a little bit. It was just a slight bump. And I remember the guy had a tow bar at the back of his truck, not a scratch, but that ripped back the entire bonnet to the windshield, and it broke out the lights. Enough damage for the insurance company to say, this done, we're writing this off. But what Matthias did not mention was that God is who writes off that car, not me. And I can tell you why God is the person, why putting that on God. Oh. No. No, he didn't. So the day after the car got written off, Matthias lost his job. He was made redundant. Company was downsizing, and that's what happened. And the Lord knew that we would not be able to pay for that car. The payment was ridiculous, as Matthias mentioned, and he knew that it would be a little while, a year and some odd months, before Matthias was able to get a job again. And that was God's mercies in our relationship. Big testimony.
Although God is not in business of writing off cars, you know that. But I understand what you mean. It was fortuitous and his leading. And also, I would agree with you, because if it had that damage and you didn't have any scratches or any effect, sure that it seemed to be divine intervention.
Yes, the airbag did not even deploy there.
Right, that's good. But the lesson there, don't pull phones very carefully, all those type of things, Yeah. All
I know that we would have gained much knowledge and insight from this panel discussion. But what would be your final words if there is somebody in the audience who wasn't listening at all throughout the whole thing for some reason? What would you like them to leave here with? What piece of advice would you give them and other couples who may be struggling to reconcile their differences, to restore harmony in their marriages?
Each person has to speak, or one person from the couple? Well, as he said, I don't remember what he said these days. So you should remember what he said earlier. Yeah. But I think one thing is, I mean, there'll be differences forever until Christ comes. Don't hold grudges. Put God in the center still. Pray about matters, and I believe He will work things out for you. And just try to be forgiven. You know, try to be forgiven. Don't complicate it. Just try to be forgiven.
I would say don't blame the past. You know, sometimes although you forgive somebody, they apologize, they say they're sorry. Sometimes if something new happens, you keep throwing the past in their face. Don't blame the past. Learn to compromise. In our early marriage, we had problems because of some major differences. Vincent, as most of you would know, is an early sleeper. I'm an owl. And most teachers are up late at night correcting work and all things like that. So he would go into bed early, and I would be up late and come into bed late. Then in the morning, he would be up early to go to the gym. I'm sleeping. So you could see that could be problematic. Now what I try to do, well, we're both retired now, I am still tempted to stay up late, but sometimes I go to bed early. Or he gets up, as he said, 2 o'clock and wants to talk. I want to sleep. But I will talk with him most of the time. Sometimes I pretend I'm sleeping, right? So he said, okay. So you gotta learn to compromise. Those are one of the things if you want to think. Another one I would suggest is learn your spouse's love language. Because we all speak different languages, I believe that Vincent's love language is words of affirmation. And you can have two, probably physical touch as well. Mine is quality time and gifts. So to give Vincent gifts really and truly is like kind of wasting your time. He will have a gift that somebody gave him since January last year, still unopened. Whereas if somebody gave me a gift, I open it right away because I like gifts. We're just different. So learn your spouse's love language and learn to use it. And one last thing I would say is to avail yourself as of much information as possible. Go to retreats, read books. I'm a reader. Vincent doesn't read much. He doesn't like reading, but I'm a reader. And you learn so much from these things which can help your marriage. All right, I'll stop there.
For me, I'll start by quoting the Bible text, be angry and sin not. Based on the research that I would have done into marriages and why they fail, it happens because people hold grudges. You start off by seeing this person, they look nice, you love them, but then as time goes on, that anger and that grudge starts to tint that person in your eyes. So you no longer feel the love that you have for them before, right? And so if we learn to forgive, not hold grudges, based on the research, that can contribute to a long-lasting marriage. And another thing that Harriet would have said, if as young people, even if you're not married yet, if you're courting or you're dating, you don't have to wait until you're married to learn the things that you need to learn to get into marriage, because it's better that you know them before so that you can go into marriage with that knowledge. Shernice and I would have gone to that retreat with the marriage menders, and we learned so much. And we were so grateful that we learned that before we got married. A lot of people, they get married first and then they learn that. And they learn it through a lot of heartache and pain, right? So seek that kind of information. If you know you want to get married, if you're on that trajectory, seek out that information.
And I will just add a little bit to what Matthew said. So as he mentioned, we would have done the retreat. And that really prepared us for when we actually struggled. So that, remember I said it was one massive blowout, and we didn't have one to that extent ever again after that point. Not that we haven't disagreed or argued, but it never got to that point. And after that, we sat and we talked about it, and we were like, but we are not using the skills that we were taught, right? And then we were intentional about implementing those into our life, and that helped a lot.
I just want to take this time to thank both couples for coming here and sharing with us this insight. All of this information, I think, could be useful to every single person here. Even though you may not be married, this is some information that you could use in your friendships and in your day-to-day life. So once again, thank you, and thank those of you in the audience who came and sat here, and I hope that you would have taken in all the information that was brought to us.
You're welcome.
Yes, let's give him a round of applause. Not going to take too much more of your time. I just want to join with Kiasha and thank Brother Vincent and Sister Harriet for coming out this evening and participating. I want to thank you for coming out and supporting the youth. Wasn't it an interesting program? Didn't you learn a lot? Yes, I certainly did. And you'll be seeing more programs like this throughout the year as well. All right, so to finish, let's all bow our heads for the closing prayer. Let's stand. All right, let's pray. Our kind Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for this opportunity we had to fellowship together. We thank you for the insights and the information that would have been given this evening. And Lord, we don't want to leave here the same, but may we take this information and apply it to our lives so that we may be changed, men and women, boys and girls. Bless us, Lord, as we go to our separate places. May we get there in peace and in safety. This is my prayer in Jesus' precious name. Amen. All right. Thanks again for coming, and do have an enjoyable week.